Now available for the first time in paperback. Stop simping in the workplace. Men, learn what you need to know in order to protect your job from workplace predators with Stop Simping in the Workplace. Available in paperback at online booksellers everywhere. Last week there was another mass shooting in America, and this mass shooting took place at the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland. And as many of my viewers began to watch the reports regarding this mass shooting in the news media and online, they began to see the pattern and profile I have talked about in numerous videos over the years regarding these mass shooters. Now, when it comes down to these mass shooters, and as I've talked about in many of my videos, there's a clear pattern that emerges regarding their behavior and a clear profile regarding these guys and how they behave and how they act. And as I began to do the research on Jarrod Ramos, the mass shooter who decided to go into the Capital Gazette newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland with a shotgun and went to murder 5 people who worked at the Capital Gazette, I began to see the same pattern and profile of behavior that Stephen Paddock participated in, that Elliot Rodger participated in, that Sung-Hee Cho participated in, and your Adam Lanza participated in over the last couple of years. Now, when it comes down to these mass shooters, I call them beta male mass shooters. And the reason why I call them beta male mass shooters is because oftentimes when it comes down to these beta males, they often act like females. And oftentimes they're acting like females due to the single mother household or divorced household that they come from. And that's where 27 of 28 of these mass shooters have come from. They have come from single mother households, and that is the root of where the dysfunction regarding their behavior lies. Now, when it comes down to this Jarrod Ramos, he is a textbook beta male, and his behavior clearly shows us how dangerous beta males are. Because your Jarrod Ramos said that his reason for going to this Capital Gazette newspaper with that shotgun was to destroy this Capital Gazette newspaper because he believed that the Capital Gazette newspaper destroyed his life. Now, when you listen to your Jarrod Ramos, he sounds just like your Nicholas Cruz. Now, your Nicholas Cruz in a video said that because his life was destroyed, he was going to destroy the lives of others. And your Jarrod Ramos has the exact same motivation for going to this Capital Gazette newspaper to murder all those people. Now, your Jarrod Ramos said his life was destroyed by the Capital Gazette newspaper because they published an article in their newspaper regarding sharing information with people online about 8 years ago. And in this article, they talked about his court case where he was tried for some sort of harassment regarding a woman he got involved with on Facebook. Now, your Jarrod Ramos decided to friend one of the girls who was in his high school class, and they began talking online. And it seems like this girl seemed to have done something that your Jarrod Ramos didn't like. And after she said or wrote something online that he didn't like, your Jarrod Ramos seemed to have lost his mind like most beta males do. Because when it comes down to the beta male wants a smooth world, and the beta male wants no problems, no conflicts, and he wants to try to control the world around him. And what he does is when people disagree with him or people do something he doesn't like, this beta male will lose it. And when they lose it, they lose their sense of perception regarding boundaries. And seems like your Jarrod Ramos lost his perception regarding boundaries because he started to call this woman and harass her, and he started to call and harass this woman on her job. And your Jarrod Ramos kept harassing this woman and harassing her employer to the point where the woman lost her job, and the woman wound up having to file criminal charges against your Jarrod Ramos, charges that led to him pleading guilty. And this is what motivated the Capital Gazette to write that article regarding not sharing your personal information with people online, because your Jarrod Ramos was a textbook example of what happens when you share your information online with the absolute wrong people. Because when it comes down to many of these beta males, they don't understand boundaries. They don't understand that this person you are friending online from high school, there's a line in the sand regarding your communications with this person. And if this person disagrees with you, you just learn to agree to disagree and then move on. And if things can't work out, you just unfriend the person and keep it moving. But because your Jarrod Ramos is a beta male and he doesn't understand boundaries, what he decided to do was he decided to call this woman and harass her. He then decided to call this woman's job and continue to threaten her there. And this stalking behavior is perfectly logical in the mind of the beta male, because the beta male, what he wants to do is he wants to get attention for himself, and he wants the person to do what he wants them to do. And until you do what he wants you to do, that's where you have the problems. And because when it comes down to many of these beta males, they are very controlling, and that's what makes them very dangerous, because they want to control others because they have absolutely no control over themselves. And your Jarrod Ramos literally started to fall apart once he got convicted of that, in that case of stalking and harassment, because after that, his obsession literally turned from the woman to the Capital Gazette newspaper. And he decided to file a civil suit regarding defamation and libel regarding the presentation of his information in that newspaper. Unfortunately, he wound up losing his case because he could not prove defamation or libel by the Capital Gazette newspaper, because the Capital Gazette newspaper used facts from the court case, it used court records from the court case to make its report, and it used court documents to make its report. But because your Jarrod Ramos is a beta male, and beta males, they live in the world of rose-colored glasses and they don't live in reality, they believe that they have a right to go out here and sue for defamation. And he went to go sue because he wanted to get revenge on this newspaper. And when the newspaper won its case, that's when this man's obsession started to go dangerous. Because, again, when it comes down to these beta males, they want the smooth world. They want no problems. They want no conflicts. They want no obstacles. And when they can't get their way, these guys become unhinged. And this guy, for ever since 2015, was writing all sorts of text messages, all sorts of emails, all sorts of documented things, harassing this newspaper, making threats towards this newspaper. And this guy's behavior was so dysfunctional that even his own lawyer was scared of this Jarrod Ramos. But this is par for the course when it comes down to these beta males, because once you disrupt the beta male's smooth world and they have to enter the world of reality, again, these men become completely unhinged, and that's where they start breaking the boundaries and start looking to try to destroy the worlds of others, because they believe their smooth world is being destroyed. And after he lost this case, this man, like many other beta males, simmered and boiled for years, because he lost the case for the civil suit in 2015, a case based on a incident he instigated back in 2011. So when you take a critical look at his behavior, this man over 8 years sat there simmering and boiling in anger over this female who was in his high school class, who he stalked and harassed, and then fixed his obsession on this newspaper. All of that time, this man could have charged all of this stuff to the game, kept it moving, and worked towards building up himself and working towards some sort of personal or professional goal. But because the beta male is a single-minded individual, the beta male will focus on an obsession, and he will focus on that obsession until he gets his revenge. Because again, when it comes down to the beta male wants to destroy the people who he feels who did him wrong, and he feels that because these people destroyed his life, he has the justification to go out here and destroy the lives of others. Now, your Jarrod Ramos, again, as he was making this plan in his mind, thought he was so smart, and he thought he would go to this Capital Gazette newspaper with his fingerprints. He damaged his fingerprints, and he thought he would have no wallet to go into this Capital Gazette newspaper as he went to do his murder spree, where he murdered 5 people. But again, when it comes down to the beta male, they go out here, they participate in these acts of violence, they have it planned in their mind, but they just don't understand reality. Now, your Jarrod Ramos thought no one would know that it was him. He thought he would just be this anonymous guy, and he thought he would try to screw everyone by having no fingerprints and having no wallet. However, because your Jarrod Ramos didn't understand reality, people figured out who he was sooner rather than later. And they figured out who he was because we have facial recognition software out here in the internet and on computers in the police departments all across this country, and people can figure out who you are basically with that facial recognition software. So your Jarrod Ramos didn't fool anyone with his shooting spree where he thought he would go out here and murder these people anonymously and then play this cat and mouse game with the police department where they tried to figure him out. They automatically figured out who he was because they had his picture in a mugshot in their database. So they knew who your Jarrod Ramos was, and the Capital Gazette literally started to connect the dots regarding your Jarrod Ramos because they knew about the history they had with this man, and they could pretty much connect the dots regarding who had this grudge against the Capital Gazette and who would be the one motivated to come to the Capital Gazette to shoot employees there. Because when it came down to your Jarrod Ramos, his motivation again was to shut this newspaper down and put this newspaper out of business. This was the delusion he had in his mind. And again, when it comes down to the beta male is an individual who lives inside of his head. And because the beta male lives inside of his head, he concocts these crazy plans where he's going to get this revenge. He's going to go and have this shooting rampage. And he's going to be infamous, and everyone's going to be talking about him. And that's one of the prime motivations that these beta males have for participating in these shooting rampages, is that they want to get this attention for themselves, they want to get this fame for themselves, and they want to be infamous for a moment because they don't want to do the hard work towards working towards achieving something of substance. And when it comes down to these beta males, they live to destroy the lives of others because they don't want to go out here and do the work to build up their own lives. And this, again, is a textbook. This case is a textbook pattern of the way these beta males behave in society when they can't get their way, when their smooth world is disrupted. They live to destroy the worlds of others, and they live to make other people miserable. Thankfully, the people at the Capital Gazette who survived this incident, they've decided to show this Jarrod Ramos that he's not going to destroy their lives. He's not going to shut down their newspaper. And the next day, they launched the next day's paper of the Capital Gazette. And they did this to make a statement to this mass shooter that he did not have power over them, he did not have control over them, and that they were taking control of the situation, and they were not going to let this man take away their freedom of speech and their freedom of expression and their right to a free press, because if this man could get control over people, this is what he wants. And this is what beta males usually want, is they want power, they want control, because they have no control over themselves, because when it comes down to this beta male has really a lot of serious issues, and a lot of these issues, again, they come from the households that these men are raised in, because again, 27 of 28 mass shooters come from single mother households, and in those single mother households, these boys learn these female character traits and female social traits, and they try to use these female approaches to life, but the world judges them as men and expects them to behave as men. But these men do not know how to behave as men, and they do not know how to socially interact like men. Now, a man who has a father in his life, he would understand that there's a logical way to do things, and because this man has been raised with a father in his life, he knows that when he friends someone on Facebook and has an interaction with them and they disagree with him or they have an issue with him in a social interaction, he knows he can unfriend that person and keep it moving, and he knows that his time is precious in this world, and he's not going to waste his time going out here trying to harass some female who he hasn't seen in almost 20 years, and he's not going to go out here and escalate things to get himself arrested over an interaction with a female who he has not seen in over 20 years. And because when you look at Jarrod Ramos, again, this is classic beta male behavior, because when it comes down to beta males, they tend to fixate on people, they tend to become fixated and obsessed with people, and because they don't understand boundaries and they don't understand logic and reason very well, they'll sit there and dwell on stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. When you have somebody on Facebook you're talking to, you haven't seen that person again in over 20 years or 25 years or 15 years. And if that person disagrees with you, then big deal. You just move on, unfriend the person, and keep it moving. But because these guys, again, don't understand boundaries, they will continue to escalate things, not understanding they're putting their own health at risk, their own safety at risk, and all they want to do, again, is try to make their world smooth and try to get control over the world, because they have absolutely no control over themselves. And what's really dangerous about these guys is because as they become unhinged, they put other people's lives in jeopardy, and they take the lives of innocent people because they want to destroy everybody's life. And again, this is why these beta males are dangerous, and this is why we really need to start talking about this issue regarding these beta males, because it doesn't have to do with gun control, it doesn't have to do really that much with mental health. It has to do with the way we are raising boys here in America, because the way we have been raising boys here in America over the last 50 years in these single mother households is breeding these types of beta males. And because we've been breeding these types of beta males over the last 50 years, we have seen this increase in mass shootings, and it again correlates directly with the rise of the single mother household due to out of wedlock births and no fault divorce. And I've looked at the pattern over this over the last 30 years, since one of the first major mass shootings in 1984 at McDonald's, all the way to the 1990s. And again, the thing that correlates them all are the single mother households. And I believe that Jarrod Ramos probably comes from a single mother household, because his behavior is textbook beta male behavior, and it's something we really need to start taking a critical look at, because when it comes down to these mass shooters, the situation continues to get worse instead of better. And the reason why it continues to get worse instead of better is because many Americans are in denial regarding the impact of single mother households on boys, and the way these boys are raised, and how the way they are raised in these households is creating 3 generations of ticking time bombs, and no one knows when these guys will go off or how many lives will be damaged or destroyed when these men wind up losing it. If you'd like to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to try some of my men's issues books, like the Simp series and the upcoming book, The Man Crisis, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.